Now, a motion of no confidence against Ekurhuleni Mayor Tania Campbell has been scheduled for the 30th of March. That's next week. Campbell is likely to be booted out after the DA speaker was removed through a deal struck between the ANC and the EFF. The new mayor is likely to come from a smaller party, and the question is whether the same instability we're seeing in Tshwane is heading to Ekurhuleni. Govan Whittles is in studio to discuss this with us. Govan, thank you for making time. So what do we know about this motion, and which party is the mayor likely to come from?
Well, we know that the motion is a long time coming. It's being tabled because the time period required, which is at least 5 months, or at least 4 months between the last motion of no confidence, which Tania Campbell survived, and tomorrow's date is passed. She survived that last motion of no confidence because there wasn't any deal on the table between the ANC and the EFF. Well, at least not one that the former councillor, Mzwandile Masina, was willing to respect. Remember, that's how Tania Campbell ended up remaining in charge of this minority government. This time around, Masina's not in council. There's a precedent of the ANC and the EFF working together to unseat the DA coalition. They seem to have found an agreement to allow smaller parties to take up the mayorship. Sipumule Ntombelas from the NFP, part of the so-called Super 7, has been one of the leading voices in the minority parties and is someone who's been considered, at least, for the mayorship. Of course, there are a number of other smaller parties that they are looking at. It won't be difficult for the ANC and the EFF to agree on the smaller parties because they've been working with them to unseat the speaker in Ekurhuleni, Raymond Dlamini. He was replaced by an EFF councillor, and it does look like they're set to do the same with Tania Campbell. Clement, this time, if the EFF decides to still not vote for a candidate, if it is to be the ANC's chief whip, Jongizizwe Dlabati, the ANC could still run Ekurhuleni, but it would be through a minority government. That's the same thing that Tania Campbell is running at the moment. So on both sides of the coin, it looks like the DA-led coalition is likely to lose power here.
Yeah, and does the ANC and the EFF have the necessary numbers? Together
they do. What they also have is bickering between the ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula and the leader of the EFF, Julius Malema. It's not clear if that will affect the negotiations for an agreement for them to work together in Ekurhuleni. Importantly, the ANC will receive a proposal on how it should approach EFF negotiations at its NEC meeting. That's likely to impact what they do in Ekurhuleni, but this motion is scheduled for next week. There might be a decision taken by the person who's really been running things behind the scenes here. That's Panyaza Lesufi, the Premier of Gauteng. He's taken it upon himself to do a lot of the decision-making, negotiations on what the ANC will do in the municipalities. And he's worked it out in Johannesburg and in Tshwane, even when...
Look at how it ended up in Tshwane.
Dr. Makwarela messed it up for them. Panyaza Lesufi, to his credit, said he had reservations about Dr. Makwarela from the beginning. But principally, his strategy has been one that has succeeded. I wonder who they're likely to choose here and whether there'll be agreements on these smaller parties.
So all eyes will be on Ekurhuleni next week. Govan Whittles, thank you so much for that.